Hello and welcome back to the Minetrek.net game server. Yeah, this is a first. All the primary builders are actually online. The Kenobi guy isn't, but myself, Blue Phobes, Mansquirrel, D-Bomb, I Panic, and M. Heller. Yeah, the 6 main builders are, for the first time in a very long time, on server. They've been working on the captain's yacht here. Does that look like a face or what? I mean, eyeballs and a smiley face. The captain's yacht here. It's one of the ugliest ships I've ever seen. If I flew this ship and had to land it on a planet, I would leave the keys in it and the airlock wide open and hope some Ferengi would take it off my hands. Uh, I don't know what happened to it. Somebody stole it. Just give me the insurance money. But then again, there's probably some Trek guy out there that'll jump my hide because, oh, the captain's yacht was used in Mission X and X and it saved the entire galaxy. It's the greatest captain's yacht in the history of captain's yachts. Uh, okay. Well, when the guys work on this, they're going to have to, well, they're not going to have to, they probably have already planned for it. They're going to have to build the gantry and the housing unit for the ship, much like what we've done with the Enterprise E and the Voyager. If you pull the captain's yachts out of those ships, you'll see that there's a really nicely detailed area for where those ships go. When we took great pains to make those areas look as detailed as possible, up to and including spending several days on the ship. Actually, that was quite a nice build, I gotta say, doing that, pulling it out, and working on the Enterprise E. So I probably will do the same thing with this one if somebody else doesn't beat me to it. And let's go ahead and pop on the inside. Looks like they're working on the warp nacelles here. That's a nice job, by the way, guys. That looks really cool. That's Matt Squirrel, and there's I Panic. I think D-Bomb's doing something on the interior. Miss Heller is flying around. She was down there working on that, along with Blue Phobes. I did decide not to put the windows in there. Reason being is I knocked out the roof, put them in there, realized that the windows were placed right over doors. So yeah, the interior placement prevents the exterior placement of windows. So I have to work on that. Same problem we ran into with the Enterprise E and with Voyager. I hate windows, especially in Minecraft, because you can't really do them justice. Let's pop up in here. They get a big open spot down here. It's probably where the engines and stuff are gonna go. And buzz up here. And then sounds like I got a cat that's outside. It's not supposed to be out there. So here's somebody yelling in the background. It's just my roommate yelling at one of the cats. Anywho, you fly through here. It looks like they've got a sort of an idea going on in here. Beats me what it is, but I'm sure they'll get it sorted out. Let's go ahead and it also looks like somebody pulled this section out from under here, so let's go ahead and I don't know why they did that. That's just a mock-up. Hopefully not making changes to that, because this is the one we're working on. So that one there is just more or less version 2.0. This is version 3.0. Actually, this is version 3.4x5395, whatever you want to call it. As you can see, the revision that Blue Phobes recommended and we went ahead and implemented really does give it a lot nicer flow around it. Again, this area here is just reserved right now for something M. Heller has in mind, and then of course this will be a trunk line that goes all the way down the ship, along with I think the computer cores go in here and over here, but not in there, excuse me, below it. So forgive me, I've been up for like 48 hours with no sleep, so I'm pretty darn tired. But yeah, you get to see the pattern now, and it looks pretty decent. Let's go ahead and buzz up in there and see what's been done on the interior. Looks like these have been in. It's really neat. You can walk through here. You do get the feeling you're walking on the Enterprise D. And the neat thing about this, and I may have mentioned it in a previous video, I don't recall to be honest with you, but a while back I recorded playing a 3D modeler where I think M. Heller provided it on the forums, the old forums, not the new forums, a link, and I downloaded it and I ran it, and it basically was a Deck 1, Deck 2, Deck 3 tour of the Enterprise D, and we really wanted to try and get that same feel where you transition between decks, smoothly. Like if you go to the Enterprise D or even one of my older builds, it seems like you have to work at to get the transition done. And this, but that video it showed a kind of a nice thing, a nice way of doing stuff, and it transitions very well now between deck 1A and deck 1B here, and we really tried to get it set up so that it's a smooth transition. Again, look at the quality of this. I'll probably do that in every video that Matt puts into his work. It's just amazing. I don't know if Panic helped him with this, but if he did, kudos to both of them. But he's a transition up here to deck 1. Of course, this is one block higher because of that, so the transition from here to here is a little bit steeper than it would normally. You'd have like a ramp that kind of goes around here, but I positioned the ramp out this way to kind of give us a little bit more space right here. So again, it's Minecraft. You got limitations and workarounds, and this can also be edited. I mean, I put that wall in there. We could take that wall out, and this would be a bigger area, opener area. But it looks good. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it again. Look at this bridge here. Speaking of bridges, let's go ahead and buzz on out of here real quick. Occasionally, you'll see things pop up on chat. I may or may not catch them, so there might be some links and things like that to some of the images that they're using for the captain shot. If they pop in there, please forgive me, guys. I don't know if that's a secured site or not, so I try not to get them, but if they do pop in there, they pop in there. So anyways, real quick sideways glance here. I want to show you the depth of the Galaxy class, but the Enterprise D here. As you can see, this is a very large space to fill, and it's 3 times as wide on sides as the Enterprise E. So literally you can set 3 Enterprise E's in here and probably have room for a Voyager or 2 easily. As far as width goes, the ship is exceptionally wide. Now our next step, of course, now that's been masked and they do the hull details, we can't do much more until all that stuff is in, because I have to know where the escape pods are. Now granted, I can go ahead and clean up the deck stack over there as well as I can, and then we could use that to place the positionings for the escape pods on the hull. But we wouldn't want to do any more detailed work on the deck plans past that, because we got to make sure everything's accounted for and placed correctly. So I was reading chat there, something caught my eye. I don't think it was anything like that. So again, builders, they chat back and forth. But what I'll do next is I'll lay out the grid lines for the decks as they approach in here. And one thing I have noticed about this hull and general the Enterprise D is that these aren't perfect ovals, and they cause issues because when you try to line the decks up with images, they're in perfect oval positions, and again, this isn't a perfect oval, so the decks aren't going to position correctly around the ship or in the ship, and that might cause some issues, and we may have to actually retweak the hull or warp the decks slightly to get them to work the way we want them to work. And that's kind of, it's a drag. You can actually really see the deformation of the oval sections of the ship on Dynamap. You can't really catch it now because it's it's all gray looking, but if you fly along here, they're not perfect ovals. They're they dip in and they dip back out again, and again, that can't be helped, as that's an artifacting of the importation process and the conversion process. But it looks like Blue Phobes has done a lot of work trying to clean that up, because I think he mentioned he saw that as well as a detriment to the build-out process. And I know he has spent a lot of time working on this hull, especially this upper hull here, and that phaser strip and everything else. You can see it over here as it kind of steps out then back in again, right there, right where that chunk load area is. It's going to be kind of a bear, because you got to get all this fit in, and you got to get it lined correctly and make it look good. And I know hull work's not something I'm really good at. Then again, I think Blue's a lot better at that than most anybody as far as contours go, and M for detail. But yeah, it is what it is. So we're gonna have to work with it, and hopefully we can overcome any of the issues and troubles we run into. And again, I'm not really sure why all of a sudden it jaunts out like this. That might actually be something that goes there, like a component, like a transporter or something like that, a array or something. I'm not sure, but there's a reason for that, and I got to figure out what it is before I proceed. Because really, I can't do much of the interior work other than real basic deck design. Because if I get too involved in the deck design and say, I know this section here has quite a few escape pods, so this would be deck 3. So deck 3 has quite a few escape pods in it, and I'm going to go ahead and work on deck 3 next, of course. And since it's not a real large deck, the placement of the deck plans, I made that. The placement of the deck plans might dictate where the escape pods go in this hull, for this part of it anyways, but for the rest of the ship we really should dead drop the escape pods and then put the deck in, even if it's not finished, and dead drop that so that we know where all the escape pods go on each deck, and then put the decks back over there and back in the stack, so we know that the escape pods and the hull are lined up, good to go. That's kind of a bear. It's kind of a long process to do, but that's probably what we'll end up doing. Slide the decks in. Dead drop the. We call it dead drop is like you have a pattern of the exterior of the ship, and then you drop sand from a key position on the hull. Like in this case, it would be a pattern that matches the escape pods and hatches, and it would fall into the hull, and then you would remove that section of the hull, and you'd have escape pod. And then the sand would fall to the next deck where the escape pod is, and you would put that pattern on the deck, but on the floor plan itself, so this right here corresponds to the hatch above it, which corresponds to the images of the ship itself. So if that makes any sense. Actually, from up here, that captain's yacht doesn't look that bad. Again, I don't know where the front of the damn thing is or the rear of it is, so I know these are the sides, so it's definitely either facing this way or facing that way. Because you never know, the ship might just drop off and you have to fly towards a deflector dish and down, but that sounds kind of stupid, so I guess facing forward is this way. But then again, in space, there really is no forward or backwards, is there? So, good question. I also wondered, does this thing have landing gear? It would have to have. Ooh, that's pretty. Very neat job there. Because if it has landing gear, you can land it. Again, like I said, if I landed this bastard, I'd leave the keys in the ignition, the warp core powered up, and forget where the damn thing's parked. And like I said, report it to the Ferengi insurance company. Yeah, some Klingons stole it. It's my lad, I'm sticking to it. Anyways, I do appreciate you taking time to watch. I apologize that there's not a lot going on, but like I said, these guys are busy building on this, and that's an RCS thruster, by the way. And not really much I can do. Too many chefs in the kitchen usually makes for a big mess and somebody yelling and screaming, and I don't particularly want to get yelled and screamed at. So I just figured I'd just fly around and keep an eye on these guys, see what they're doing, and they're extremely competent builders, and they are. I learn a lot from these guys, whether they want me to admit that or not, especially in recent times with working on the Voyager, the Defiant, and of course the Enterprise E. And speaking of the Enterprise E, it's still ongoing. I actually just finished doing a lot more work on one of the decks. When I get done filling in the decks, then Impeller goes through and puts a bunch more detail into the decks, and then of course we got to fill in all the rooms that I don't hit, like science labs and crew quarters and things like that. But we're doing it. It's a slow process. We're doing it. I'm actually gathering up a bunch of designs for scientific-looking stuff to put in the science labs, and that's going pretty good. I've got like over 100 little component things now, variations. So basically, like I have like 5 of the same type, but they're slightly different for different purposes. So I count those as 5 separate things, even though it's really only one. But hey, they're painted differently or designed slightly differently, so hey, new patent, new device. Anyways, again, thanks for watching. This, of course, is the Minetrek.net game server. If you hit that like button for me, I greatly appreciate it. Also, if you'd visit us on Facebook, link in the description, and like us there too, it'd be greatly appreciated. Y'all have a great day now. Bye-bye.